Hello and good evening. Yes, you are back with the crew. And tonight, as I've mentioned for a couple of weeks now, we have a great special guest here, a brilliant man in his research. And he's educated all of us in the crypto space, in particular the XRP Army family, I like to call us all now. Mr. Man is with us here tonight, and we are going to discuss many different things, as we like to do on this show, but one of which is DEXs, AMMs, passive income, if you will, as this Thursday night show is typically about. How do we generate income, and how do we do that? Mr. Man, please introduce yourself and let us all know how you got into this whole thing. And it's a pleasure having you, man.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here tonight. So I've been in crypto for about 4 years now, I want to say. And what brought me into crypto was COVID. COVID actually brought me into crypto. Some things in life didn't make sense, but when COVID had come around, I was on the fence. I wasn't too sure what way to go, and my wife kind of jolted me into actual reality, and that's when I started figuring things out. And I got to the point at work where I was frustrated just learning about the things behind that. When I do research, I dive in head first. I don't know how to not do that. So I dove in head first, and I got to the point where I recognized that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a somebody of any status that can change anything in this field here. So for whatever reason, I jumped into crypto. I've always wanted to, money's always fascinated me. I'm a real estate investor. I've spent 10 years of my life creating and learning about real estate, creating a little empire for myself and my wife. And so I jumped into crypto. And like most people, I got scammed. I got scammed so bad, man. I lost so much money, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I understand what people go through when you first get into this industry. And that's usually the, I guess, pivotal point. Do you continue, or do you just quit and give up? And I had no reason to give up yet. So I kept going. I kept going. I kept getting scammed. And I got to the point again where I'd broken down. I spoke to my wife. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And to make matters worse, I had every month, my mother, my sister, my cousin, and I would put money in a pot, and we would grow that pot. And my cousin and my sister was like, "Why don't we roll that into Bitcoin?" I was like, "Sure." I heard a bit about cryptocurrency. This is around the same time I jumped in. I jumped in 2020 at the top there, and I saw that just go down. I was like, "What in the hell is actually happening right now?" People were getting rich on this, and I'm going broke now with other people's money. So
Yeah.
I had to learn fast, man. I started reading articles, and it didn't make sense. Bitcoin, it didn't make sense to me, other than just news. And then someone in the group, one of the groups that I was in on Telegram, had sent me a video, or had sent a video in the group about Coach JV talking about XRP. And for whatever reason, just hearing that, it immediately in my head, I'm like, this is the truth. This is truth right here. I need to learn about this. So I dove in head first. I learned about XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, Velo, Stronghold, like anything that has a use case. I'm doing my best to understand what it is, why it is, how it's going to be utilized, by who it's going to be utilized, the regulations that go with it. And the reason that's important to me, because I come from a regulatory background in the aviation world, and I was the sole auditor. I had my manager, but I was the auditor for the company from the maintenance standpoint. We did quarterly audits. We did audits whenever we had standing agreements with other companies. We did an annual audit as well. I knew how to look at the governing bodies, legislations that they have, their regulations, and to the best of my ability, it made sense. And I had never come to a conclusion or come to a point in my career where the company was audited on my behalf. So
Nice.
again, I'm far from perfect, But understanding regulations, it just made sense to, because I know about regulations, I'm trying to learn about what this thing is now, cryptocurrencies. So I figured, okay, let me dive into regulations. And it just started clicking. It just started clicking and clicking. And I was like, I didn't know there was like regulations to money. And when I went there, I've always wondered, but when I went down that rabbit hole, man, it was profound. Like I found
Sure.
something I didn't even know existed, you know?
Yeah.
And like watching these conferences now, like these 2, 3, 8 hour conferences, most people are like, oh my God, that's so mind numbing. How do you do it? I'm sitting there watching it like it's a basketball game on my phone, like, oh, he didn't just say that. No, like I'm pumped,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
excited. This stuff is like,
Yeah.
this is real life,
It is. Yeah. I love that perspective. It's
That's who
just so
I
like
am.
we live it. We live it every day, the information and the news that we
Yeah.
find. And it's just like, it's such a puzzle and we're putting it all together. I just have to say this. It's interesting because I've never interviewed anybody with a mask on. I will tell you guys, he's a very handsome guy on the other side of that mask, and there are reasons that he wears this, and they're personal to him. And like after doing YouTube for about 4 years now, I wish I'd worn a mask. I can just tell you that. I'm like, wow, man, I should have thought of something like that, or never put my face on the screen. I don't know. It's sort of different, but I know you have reasons for it, and it's nothing nefarious. It's just business, and I get that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just tell it some people maybe that aren't used to seeing you or whatever. Anybody that does not know who Mr.
Mhm.
Man is in the XRP family, shame on you, because this man does probably the most or as much research as anybody out there that I know of. Thankfully, I was just telling you before the show, thankfully he studies all those things that I really, oh man, okay, I can study everything about crypto, but that I find kind of boring. But and that was kind of a lot of the ISO and the contracts. And I love the way you put that timeline together to where, okay, 25 is going to be this, 26 is going to be the next big thing. And I'd really
Mhm.
like to get you on like right around May 10th or March 10th that we were just talking about a minute ago. That is going to
Mhm.
be a very significant day in the ISO future of the way
Absolutely.
banking is going to run. So with that, I hope to have you back on, oh gosh, about a month from now. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But tonight,
Yeah.
I really want to pick your brain on stuff that, well, it's another thing that you know a whole lot more about than I do. I've been a trader most of my life, but I got into oracles when they first came out, and I thought, DeFi, man, this is it. I got this, and I fell like you did, fell victim to Celsius. I was a victim of Celsius, thinking, oh, that's DeFi, and I'll just okay, that's the way we make money with crypto. And well, I'm not going to say that the system failed us. I'm going to say a man failed us in that situation. But I really want to get into what you do to make money with money or crypto on a basics level. How do you get started? How would somebody else get started? And then I'm going to have some really tough questions as we go about that.
For sure. One of the first things I would tell someone if you want to get started in DeFi is like you have to have a willingness or at least be open to the fact that you could potentially lose money. And I guess a better way of saying it, you could potentially lose your assets because in this scenario here, the assets are more valuable than the actual money because money is losing value, the assets are retaining it. Um, you have to have a willingness to learn because like there is a learning curve to it. It's pretty simple when it comes like when it all comes down to it, it's like really simple. But you have to have a willingness to learn. Do you mind if I guess take you through the example of
Love
what
to. Love it.
DeFi could look like?
Sure.
Okay, so the way I picture it is, when you physically walk into your bank, you're at the bank teller now, or I'm just doing a lateral description. You have your phone and you're going to your phone, which is the bank teller. Same thing. You tell the bank teller that I want to transfer this money to Alan. And they're like, okay. So when I give this money to them, whether on the phone or physical now, it goes to the bank teller. You're in the US, I'm in Canada. So they have what's known as the Nostro Vostro. I gave them Canadian, they're holding the sum of US. So now that FX takes place there, there's a fee. Who gets the fee for that? That bank does, because they're providing and supplying that liquidity. So
That's
that
right.
money will now in US go through the SWIFT system. There's a fee for that. I'm not sure of their fee scaling and fee tiering, but there's a fee for that. Then when it comes out the other side, you will get it in your US. There's no more fees. If you were somewhere else in the world, that US would have been swapped for something else at that point. And this is what XRP actually does, the path finding to find and source liquidity. But essentially, what DeFi allows for is you are providing, or we're providing, that liquidity, that Canadian to US pair. So when that FX swap happens, I get that fee for it, right? As opposed to the bank. Centralized, that's their place, they're getting it. Decentralized, I'm earning that fee itself, no, or the commission or emission or whatever it's called, depending on the protocol itself. So the way I look at it is I'm learning about these things, still learning about the various protocols. I'm learning about the platforms. I'm learning about who the company is behind it, if it's a DAO, what jurisdiction they're in, because you have to know what jurisdiction they're in, because depending on what jurisdiction they're operating in, they will have different regulations for that, if there's regulations or not. If there's no regulations, how can you determine if this platform is following guidelines or following something that makes them appear as if they're regulated? Because there's some companies, if you honestly do not even a deep dive, but if you're willing to put your bias aside, you can come to a conclusion how they act or what the platform is actually doing. There is one company out there that DeFi platform I don't trust. I'm not going to say the name of it, but I'll give you descriptions of why I don't trust it. So it operates, like, the platform itself is great. It operates really good. It was my first introduction into DeFi within the XRP ledger itself. So I was learning to tap into it now with my XRP, and I ran this up from 1.1 million TVL up to 9.9 million TVL, and that was awesome. But then I find some of the options that they have within their protocol just don't make sense. You can boost your APR. So APY is if you, how do I explain this? So APR is I go to buy a car and I owe a fee to somebody else at that point. So whoever the underwriter is and gave me that loan, I own that fee to them. If I'm supplying it, I get that APR. And APY is you put it in the bank gives you that yield. So with the APR, where was I here? Oh, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, you were talking about there's a company that does it a certain way that you're not a big fan of.
Right. So what they do is if you buy some NFTs, some pictures, some useless, I'm not going to put these down, but like useless JPEG pictures, you can boost your APR. Like, to me, that sounds like some, hey buddy, Joe down the road, check this out, man. You can make some extra money, sell your NFT for 55 XRP, which is worth X amount, and this picture does absolutely nothing, and we'll boost their APR, and they'll get a little handout, a little extra. Meanwhile, so there's certain things. So
no use case at all
in the jurisdiction. Really. In the jurisdiction that this company or DAO is in, who is the regulating body? Like in the US, the SEC is the regulating body, for the security. So what guidelines has the SEC put out for this, or Thailand or Jamaica or wherever it is? What guidelines do they have on this? Right? On this on a platform itself. Cool. Are there any guidance? So you figure out there may or may not be some guidance for that jurisdiction. It may or may not be banned in that jurisdiction. So you can now, for whatever reason, you feel confident enough to go into the protocol, and now you're going to learn about the pairing itself, the Canadian US or the wrapped ETH, wrapped XRP, the Stellar, whatever it is at this point.
Mm-hmm.
The assets. Do you trust these assets now? Because again, you have to consider that these assets might be a rug pull too. They might be a meme coin. It could be whatever. So you have to
Right.
consider that as well. Learn about that coin now. Is there a use case for this coin? Does it solve some issue? Who is the team? Can you find them on LinkedIn? Can you email them? Can you speak to a team? Is it one person? Where are they at? So there's a lot of learning. But once you have these questions, like it's better to have these things than to not have them at all, because now you can talk about it.
Sure.
Why are you
Yeah.
invested in it? I'm invested in it because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have those things looked after now. You feel confident enough to go into it. When you're on the Ethereum platform, it's I'm not going to say as simple as, because you still have the ETH fees to get over. It's just now paying gas fees in Ethereum. So on the base network, you'll have to have Ethereum on the mainnet within your Coinbase wallet, and then some ETH on base itself. So the reason you
Okay.
have to have ETH on both of them in the middle here is your DeFi protocol, because as you're
Mm-hmm.
earning here on this side here, to be able to claim it, you're going to claim it here. You have to pay the gas fees in Ethereum. So that's why that sits there. And then if you change it, move it from this wallet to your regular Coinbase wallet, now it's in Ethereum over here. Then you have to pay those fees as well over there. So the gas fees, and they're not too expensive. They do add up after a while, but it's not too expensive as like ETH gas fees are. When you get to the main net, it becomes expensive again, though. But it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice passive way to make some income, and there are strategies to it within the base network. There is what's it called? There constant. So there's basic volatile or basic volatility, meaning you don't necessarily need to be an active participant. Like if you're trading, you're at the charts, you're checking it out, you're back testing, you're looking at potentially setting something up, you're reading news, like you're actively in it. With the basic structure, what it is just picture ranges like this, and each hand is a coin, right? This is USDC, this is Bitcoin here. So now I have 100% put into USDC, 100% put into Bitcoin at this point here. Now it's how long can I keep as close to this 100% as possible? Because keep in mind, Bitcoin fluctuates and USDC fluctuates. So as Bitcoin is going up, it's pulling away from what this value was, because the goal is to be in a steady correlated pairing.
Right. Almost like a stable coin.
Actively recognize or not.
Yeah.
So one of the best pairs to get into would be two stablecoin pairs.
Right.
And the reason why that's significant, I know a lot of people have been excited to jump into the RLUSD XRP pairing on the XRPL when that comes out. I believe Pulsara has it on Cosmos. That pairing right now, I wouldn't trust it. And the reason I wouldn't trust it, the correlation between the two of them are highly uncorrelated. RLUSD is completely stable as can be. XRP is an unbacked asset, so it has wild fluctuations. Like you could be doing more harm than good to yourself. I would jump into a pair like that when the RippleNet ecosystem continues to get or is more built out with the other stable coins in there, giving XRP a more stable value. At that point, I would jump into it. But
now
like
you would still
RLUSD. Go ahead.
Could you? So you still have to use Ethereum and Base to trade those two together?
Not those two. Those ones are on the
Those
Cosmos
two you
the
can
Cosmos
do alone,
ecosystem.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. But
yeah,
RLUSD and XRP is actually found on the Pulsara network.
Right.
And that's a Cosmos in the Cosmos ecosystem. Yeah. The other example with the Ethereum is another, I guess. Yeah. On Ethereum, they have a wrapped XRP that you can use. But it's like a wrapped ETH XRP.
Okay.
So
So,
it's a nice strategy. Go
what
ahead.
is the learning curve? Would you say? Like, is this something you need 100 hours in, or is it more than that to really brush up and get decent at learning this? I know it depends on if you're an intuitive person, or everybody learns at a different rate. But is that what you would recommend before you go live with something like this? You really should brush up and know it pretty well, right? I would assume.
You know what? Where we're at right now, there's no back test for this. So everything is brand new for everybody, right? You can't
Okay.
go and call up someone with 20 years experience because there is no 20 years experience. So the best way to
Right.
go about this is to have a willingness to recognize that you could potentially lose money and that I want to learn this. That's what it is. Like, I want to learn this. And it may take you a weekend just to understand it and then to throw some money at it, $20, and then
Oh,
see
okay.
how that goes and begin to watch it and learn more.
Yeah. Great. Okay.
But then
Good.
once you've reached the point where you're comfortable, you don't need to be an active participant in it, depending on how active you want to be.
Okay. Right. Okay. So let's say somebody decides,
Mhm.
okay, I want to do this. Would you at this point, because of the lack of regulation that the previous US regime has had, would you say right now is a good time, or would you say it's a better idea to wait? Or is it a good time to go ahead and learn with $20, like you said, and get your feet wet? Because I'm assuming that it's
I'd
probably
highly
more
recommend getting
profitable.
your feet. Mhm.
You would or would not?
I would highly recommend people jumping in with their and getting their feet wet and getting a taste of it, because as the bull run ramps up, you can now add this as to part of your strategy as an exit strategy itself, as opposed to waiting to make take some profit and then trying to figure it out and losing things. Like, for my strategy, one of the things I want to do is implement DeFi again. I feel comfortable and confident in it, that I can put money in there, and the term I use, it sounds bad, but I can print money from there. I can print money during the bull run. My liquidity pairing increases in value. My APR may go down, but the value I'm pumping out is still at a higher rate. And what I'm pumping out, I can now utilize that liquidity there, as opposed to just pulling out of my assets, putting it somewhere else, and it's locked there, and that's where the liquidity trail ends, essentially.
Sure.
I want to find
Love
something
it.
that keeps
Love it.
allowing for liquidity so I can keep moving things around.
Man, that's awesome. Okay, so how many? Okay, so let's say somebody gets in and they do it for a weekend. They really kind of like it. How many hours screen time? I know you could go crazy on it. How much time does somebody really need to spend on this to really brush up and get decent at?
There is a group that does this, and they provide solid information. That way, you're not going in it alone. The Wealth 28 group, the Wealth 28 Club with Aquaman and Cypress. $28, I
Perfect.
believe it is. That's all it is $28. You get access to like hundreds of videos right from the very beginning of what DeFi is, breaks it down to you step by step by step. And then you have you get access to the Discord as well, where there's a
Okay.
group of people. So now you're amongst other people who now have experience. So you're still not going at it alone. Cypress is in the group. Aquaman's in the group every Thursday at 2 o'clock PST. Aquaman does a DeFi presentation, so you're never alone. You know, like for
Nice.
myself, I dove in head first. I had to learn. I had no one to teach me. Um,
Mhm.
for you guys or for anybody else, there's the Wealth 28 Club. They provide a wealth of knowledge, and I highly recommend it.
Okay, we're going to have those links in the show notes for sure, but feel free to always be mentioning that during the show. That's great. I don't see Joanna in
Okay.
here, but Joanna will probably bounce in here and she'll post it up on there, I'm sure. I think it was actually, maybe it was on the thumbnail or not. I can't remember. Anyway, we Okay, my next big. First of all, I want to say something that, as a trader, my whole life. There you are. There's Joanna. Okay, so one of the things I've learned is there's a lot of statements that are true about life. Okay, but the one thing I've known my whole life is there's no risk-free yield in the history of man.
Mm-hmm.
People think, oh no, there's this way, and it's all completely risk-free. And I'm so glad you started with that, because it's a really important point. Look, don't do anything with this that you aren't ready to lose. Okay. But with something like this, you're able to compound monthly and quarterly, I'm assuming, at a rate that you don't have to start off with a lot of coins or a lot of money in value and to increase. What sort of numbers are we looking at here? Realistic, somebody just getting started, you know, what has been your experience in your group? Have you found? Do you lose money the
let me
first
go
month?
back now to the beginning of summer. So when I first had heard about it in the beginning of summer, I was talking to my mentor, and he's the one who turned me on to DeFi. And I got home, started watching the few videos I had access to. I figured, okay, let me try it. And I tried it. Like, I didn't put a lot in there. I put $1,000 in there, and that may be a lot to some people. But I mean, whatever you can afford really to try it out with, try it out and see how it goes. If you're going to be using an ETH protocol, you're going to have to pay ETH gas fees. If you're going to use, and that's where most of the actual money is, on Ethereum itself. If you're going to use whatever chain you're going to use, because most chains now have DeFi, you're going to have to pay those gas fees as well. But I highly, highly, highly recommend, looking into it and doing it. That's the best teacher. Like, watching a video will tell you so much. Listening to someone talk about it will tell you so much. It gets to the point where, for my life, I don't like having information that I can't apply, because then it's useless information. So you can get all the information you want, but eventually you have to go and apply it. And you can do it with as little as little as you need, just to taste it, to see what's going on, to gain an understanding of it. When I first got in, I got in at $1,000, and the APR I was looking at, I believe it was 200%. And this is basic. This is the basic tool. So I didn't have to check the markets continuously. I didn't have to see how my pairs were correlated. I didn't have to check anything. It was a full spectrum range for both pairs. And every day, I believe I was bringing in $5. I did that for a few weeks, and then my wife was like, "This is great. Let's throw some more money at it." I was more cautious. And I said, okay, let me up that $1,000 to $2,000 and see how it goes, so I can learn, as opposed to, we're making money, let me throw some money at it. So I was more cautious. She's more adventurous, which is, I do enjoy that, but I'm more cautious with the money, though. You're probably listening right now. So we made that money, and it was going great. So I upped it. He's like, why don't you throw some more money at it now? So I upped it to $10,000, and it began to pump out, I think it was like 1% a day. So I was like, this is actually really good. Really, really good. So it got to the point, again, I'm a real estate investor. It got to the point where I recognized that it was no longer lucrative to hold one of my rental properties. So we made the decision to analyze it, sell it, and we got that thing sold before we went on vacation. And we were able to, I want to say we funded our vacation with DeFi. We didn't necessarily fund it with it, but we could have, because we were at the point where we were making about $500 a day with DeFi. What I had done was taken from the sale of the property. We sold the property. I'm gonna give you numbers. We sold the property. We ended up coming free and clear 93K. I took 34K of that and rolled into DeFi, and we were pumping out like between $100 to $500 a day. It was just unreal, just unreal to be able to tap into something like this. And I saw and I learned a lot because I saw the value of the pairs drop down. I saw the APR drop down. It got to the point where I was like, okay, this is very new. I'm not too sure how to take this. I'm not going to pull out now, because if I pull out now, I'm going to experience impermanent loss. I don't want to experience impermanent loss. Do I have the fundamental belief in the coins that I'm in? At this point, I was watching the charts, and I wanted to know, I wanted to understand what was going on, because the
Yeah,
pairing, seeing a reduction in value was new to me, because all I've ever known was the high of it. So now it began to come
sure.
down, but we were still earning. But at the tail end, what it came to with that one, I waited for that one to roll back up again, and when it did, I pulled out because I recognized that this pair is volatile. So I rolled out of there, put it into another pair. I kind of consolidated the pairings that I had, and I was earning about $500 a day, $100 to $500 a day. And what I did with that, on top of that yield, there's this other site. I rolled it into DeFi, and I was lending out those assets now. And because I lent out a specific asset, they gave me the platform asset for free with that. So I was earning at 8% with this asset I just earned over here for free, not for free, but providing liquidity for. And because I'm holding this asset on this protocol, they gave me free asset down here. So then every time I earned, I could take that out, and I could lend that out at a yield, as and earn as well. So I was
I
like
love it.
earning here, earning down there. So it
Yeah,
was actually more than 500. It was wild. It was wild.
yeah. And now, since you've been in it since last summer, are there fluctuations in the market? Have you noticed that sometimes they're more profitable than others, or is it just knowledge base? You just get better at like those little tweaks that you just kind of stumbled across. There's a
this
delay in our
this
video.
where the way I see it right now, it's not necessarily something you that there is a delay. It's not necessarily something you get better at. It's something that you have to understand in the market. You have to understand what the market's doing, where it's going as a market entirely, and then you have to
Mm.
understand what the pairs are doing, because if they're not correlated and one does something versus the other, then you can experience impermanent loss. And that's when you got to figure out some strategies at that point. Do you just sit there and do nothing, or do you figure out what's actually going on? Why am I losing why is my APR decreased? Why is my deposit value decreased? What's happening right now? And that's when it becomes really neat, because each person's going to figure out something different. And like I was saying with Wealth 28 Club, when you're around other people, the discussions you can have from other people who have some experience in it, it's really neat, man. It really is
Yeah.
neat. And creating new strategies too. Awesome.
So if I'm getting this correct, it's really a lot more about, it's not about trading. It's not about retail price go up, or am I predicting because of the charts it's going to go up or down tomorrow. It's really a strategy of placement of funds, and then let the system just roll. It's kind of a basic synopsis, but is that kind of what I'm understanding here? It's knowledge base. It's not like predictability. It's, oh, I have to predict what's going to happen next.
Absolutely. Just find out where the liquidity pockets lie, essentially. And when I say
Okay.
that, I guess the best way I can describe it is, if we're looking at the XRP ledger itself, we'll use that as the base layer, and we'll use other layer ones that connect around it. So we'll go from XRP ledger to, say, Cosmos. I've recognized that Cosmos ecosystem is a big player as a layer one, and it's going to be here for a long time. So if the XRPL asset needs to get moved to the Cosmos ecosystem, this bridge here, whatever this coin is and whatever this coin is, would be a good pairing to have if they're highly correlated. So if we're looking at, I'm going to get technical here, and I hope it's not too technical. But if we're looking at a real-time gross settlement system, like the way the central banks have it up, so for instance, they have the U.S. currency and they have the euro, right? Those aren't necessarily, well, actually, they are somewhat correlated, but you can also there in high volume of foreign exchange that's taking place. So I would look for something along those lines. That's the strategy there. That's the play there. Recognize where liquidity would be locked and recognize at least learn the total value locked, much the how much people have deposited within to this pool itself, recognize the 24-hour volume and what the total fee payout would be at that point. And those are the metrics I use. Those are the metrics that come on the protocol as it stands right now. I'm sure more is going to come later on as this ecosystem builds out.
Yeah. So do you anticipate these spreads or margins or profitability to tighten over time as more market comes in? Or do you think the volume's going to bring a higher spread and probably a better chance for profitability in the DeFi world?
I don't think it's one versus the other. I think both of them will happen. Depending on which assets shoot off first, you're going to have that separation. So it's going to be really volatile at that point. And eventually we'll get to a place where it could level out. Like right now, most assets in the crypto space are moving, like they look like they're moving in concert, you know? So depending on what you pick, if their charts are very similar now, they look at least like they're highly correlated. I would jump into them. Like XRP's chart looks like XLM, looks like HBAR, looks like Link right now. It's really neat to see them all moving the way that they are right now. So if you understand how to look at the charts and recognize patterns for similarities, it shouldn't be too difficult to recognize which pairs could be correlated, essentially, is what I'm getting at.
Okay. Yeah. Now, there's been a lot of talk about stable coins. There's been a lot of talk about having strategic reserves and whatnot. Of this 100-person committee that the U.S. has picked, are there any of these, or in the process of picking, are any of those people somebody that you really hope gets into that group and that committee that's really going to push DeFi over the edge and really is knowledgeable in the area? Or we don't think they're there yet?
There was somebody who I believe I think it was David Sachs. Isn't it David Sachs at the SEC who understands AI and DeFi himself? I believe I'm going to sound biased when I say this, but also Brad Garlinghouse is in the running for a position as well. I don't know where I stand on that. I mean, I think that'd be really cool if he was in there, because like I like XRP, I like Ripple, I like what Ripple's doing, the direction they're going, but I'm not 100% sure how I feel about him going in yet. I haven't given myself that time to, recognize the feelings around that. But yeah, I think when David Sack gets in, I believe was it 2026 he was getting in? I'm not sure. I don't recall why it was so late. But when he gets in there, I think that'll be the game changer. And at that point, we could be staring. I've heard it being called by the BOE, Bank of England, as Mika 2.
Huh. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. We have that address up here on the board. If anybody's just listening, you can check it out on the video. But it will be in the chat. And I've got so many questions. I hope you've got some time for me here. So One of the things I really struggle with when I get into DeFi is I always think that it's more difficult than it is. And I think, well, yeah, I'll bounce around and I'll kick around
Mhm.
over on a couple of different sites. Some of the ones you've recommended in the past. Which ones do you recommend? Actually, that's a better question right now. What sites do you recommend for people to, other than your group, to look at live DeFi?
I'm not going to say I recommend any, but I can give insight into the ones that I've used and I feel comfortable using.
Okay.
Aerodrome. So the website for that is aerodrome.finance. I feel so comfortable and confident in this site. Sora. This is on the Polkadot network.
Okay.
Pulsara, which is on the Cosmos ecosystem.
Yeah.
Crystal.
Follow
I
Pulsar.
started off learning a bit about Crystal Finance. Um, I haven't really gotten into it. Sui, the Sui network. That one is it's so simple. Like it's easy to get in. At first it seemed difficult, but once you do it, it's really simple to set Sui up. Um,
And fast.
and there was one on the XRP ledger. It's gone now. But yeah, there was one on the XRP ledger. It was known as DexFi, but that's gone now though. But I did like that site itself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. So let's change subject a little bit here. Well, let's go back. We never really covered what kind of
Okay.
returns. What kind of returns is realistic here for somebody just getting in, say the first year or 6 months?
So this is the type of strategy in terms of returns where you have to, I guess, learn a bit about how to read the numbers. Look at the total value locked, and what you want to do is find something that has like a protocol or liquidity pairing that has a high amount of liquidity actually in there. People are utilizing this for this FX swap. People believe in this, so they're putting a high amount of money in there. Then what you want to do is look at the volume. And what the volume tells us is how much swaps are taking place. And it tells you the payout for that. Because the reason this metric is important because you want a payout, right? That's what it is. You want a payout. So the higher they're paying out for that day in a 24-hour turnaround time, the better for you. It's a lot of liquidity trapped in there with the TVL. There's a high volume. And then you want the APR is the next thing you need to look at. Now, with crypto, I'm not doing this as traditional finance, like 2%, 5%. To me, the way I look at it, this is crypto. This is digital money. I want something that's blue chip, but also has a bit of
Sure.
risk in it. So I'm looking at ones that offer between 100 to 300%. And that can be considered high risk, or it could be considered blue chip as well, depending on how you view and what your metrics are in terms of risk aversion. And with those, I mean, if you put $1,000 in, you can, depending on those metrics I was telling you about, a realistic return could be $5 to $10 a day, and I think that is fantastic.
Mhm.
Not
Yeah.
for not needing to be a very active participant in market, depending on how you had it set up. If you had taken your time, done your due diligence, and learned about the pair and about the platform, the
Okay.
expectations shouldn't be there, but the understanding of knowing that I've done my due diligence, I'm putting my money in something I believe in. There is a real chance of me earning off of that because I've done my due diligence on this platform, and now I will earn and learn and continue to learn from this protocol itself. And it's nice, even if it's $5 a day that you're making, some people scoff at that. It's only $5. But in reality, if you didn't do this, you weren't even making that $5, you know?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I can remember when I first got into crypto, we were mining and we were only making, $8 a day or something like that. But, looking back, kind of wish I had all those coins I mined back in the day. Yeah, they were only $8 worth back then, but they're probably 8,000 now. It's absurd how this whole space has grown.
Oh, man.
But yeah, if you make $5 a
Mhm.
day, don't laugh at that, because that's number one, you can compound that, and there is nothing more powerful than
Mhm.
compounding. So, and that's incredible. Okay, so now I'm going to get back to my other question. Are you equipped to take, say, maybe a group of people to help them, teach them in that site that we just posted? Are you able to take a group of people and maybe trade for them? Or I shouldn't call it trading. Are you able to invest for them at this point, or you're not even going to touch that going forward? In other words, people just submit some funds and then they're going to go ahead and reap the $5 a day reward. Is there any plans for that? Or do you think everybody should take this on personally and do it themselves?
Um, I'm not sure where Cypress and Aquaman are regarding that, so I'm unable to speak to that for them. I'm not
Okay.
sure if they're looking to get licenses to go and do that, and insurance, as opposed to just being an educational platform to provide information that they can use, that the individual can use and go out and learn.
Love
So
it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. No,
Mhm.
that's really important, because a lot of people today, they've done really well, as we've all pretty recently done pretty well with XRP. So now a lot of the people I talk to are at a point where 5xing their money was really wonderful, but they really, as I do, believe they're going to 10x over the next probably year or
Mhm.
more. And a lot of us really believe that. In particular, almost everybody who watches my show has XRP as is pretty much my primary subject on my show. But they also understand that, well, I could be worth a few $1,000,000. I'm 55 years old. I don't want to deal with anything anymore. I'm really kind of looking for some passive DeFi income. Maybe I'll throw 50K at it because I've got 5 million or something like that. And I get a
Mhm.
lot of that. I get a lot of people that are saying, wow, Alan, when is DeFi going to come to Wall Street? When is it going to come to uh, an easy place for me near you? And what sort of time frame do you think that would be before it's a everyday product, would you say?
I would say one, stable coins are a lot of clarification on what they are within the US from the overarching federal level, because it's already done state by state. Canada has what it is as well, but we don't have what it is either in terms of a federal level, but most of the rest of the world does have that. So once we have an understanding from our countries of what they are and how they're used, then they will be used within our real economy. And I
Mhm.
believe at around 2027, maybe 2028, we could see the implementation or at least discussions of DeFi. And I'm coming to this conclusion just based off of what I've heard from conferences and from some of these central bankers and some of these consultants like McKinsey and EY. 2027, like they're looking at it right now and assessing DeFi, and DeFi this year is coming up for reevaluation by IOSCO, I believe it is. So I believe after that, there's going to be some more guidance, which takes another 24 to 18 months out again. So I picked about 2027.
Yeah. That was kind of the time I was reading about too. About a year ago, I was thinking by 2028, it's going
Hmm.
to be mainstream. It'll
Yeah.
be But with Trump, I mean, he's really pushing things. He's really, man, he's got his foot to the floor on this thing. So
Mm-hmm.
who knows what's going to happen? So it's going to be interesting to see how it works. One of my favorite people that I talk to works. He's a ranking person in Goldman Sachs,
Mm-hmm.
and every time I talk to him about it, he said, "Well, they put a stop to all that." And I said, "Well, yeah, they kind of tried to, but we also know that that was choke point 2.0. That's
Mm-hmm.
we know what they did. We know how they did it. We know why they did it, and we know what they were nervous about, and they know what you and I know, which is this is a better way to exchange money. This is a better way to make money with money. This is a better
Mm-hmm.
way for the mankind to go forward with money." And they were doing everything they could to choke it. And it's all coming out now, what they did illegally, in this country at least. And it's all coming out. And I think it's actually going to be shown to the people that not only is this an incredible avenue that we should all be learning about and we should be teaching our children about, but for generations to come, this will be a mechanism. And I'm speaking generally about crypto, not just DeFi. It will be the future of finance in the planet. And the more you can know about it, and the more you can listen to intelligent people like Mr. Man, understand that, the quicker we're all going to be a lot better off. But I really appreciate the hard work that you've put into this. I know I've listened to a few shows you've been on, and your attention to detail is obvious that you've done your research. And that's what I really like about your approach. You must be an accountant, clearly, the way you study things. I love it. Yeah. What are you most excited about going forward? Let's switch it from DeFi to what are you most excited about with XRP going forward? Just in a general sense.
With XRP, I'm honestly really excited to watch the RippleNet ecosystem get built out. When I first caught on to XRP, what it is, for me, it was about, like, I want to say, like most people, it was about the money. And I was like, oh my gosh, this could be something that's life-changing. Now where
Yeah.
I'm at, with the documents that I've read, with the audiobooks I've listened to, with the conferences I've watched, like, I could care less about the money. I've come to the understanding and conclusion that I'm well aware it's going to be of a high value. What value? I don't know. I don't care. So in terms of learning now, I think it's really cool to watch it being built out, to see what route they're taking and why they're choosing to take that. Like right now, the attention has turned to AI agents, and with Ripple, they're back on payments again. So they're building out the ecosystem. The Digital Pound Foundation had threw out a tweet a few months ago saying something along, it'd be really cool to see an RLGBP or GBP coin on RippleNet. And then Brad Garlinghouse had stated something about the Japanese yen, and was it just those ones? I believe it was those ones. And when I look at RippleNet, the original pictures they had posted like years ago, I can see they're building out the ecosystem. It's like, okay, well, how are you going to do this? And just trying to piece that together and figure that out, and when you have information like Ripple has their was it MTL license, money transmitter license out in Europe through Ireland, so they can get that out there. They've already been certified to get to go once they're following all the regulations already. Get the collateral for whoever's collateral it is. I don't know how they're gonna do this, but they'll put the collateral up, back it, and now you have this. And same thing for this ECNY. You're gonna have the euro, the GBP, the USD, the Japanese yen, and then they have, like, it's a dual picture. There's the traditional basket, and this is what makes it so interesting, because it's the traditional basket, and it's the reserve assets though. these are the reserve assets held within the IMF, right? Those 5 currencies that I was telling you about, and they're each
Yeah.
risk. They're all risk weighted, but then behind that there is like the Brazilian real,
Well,
the
yeah.
Mexican MXN, and a few other coins in there too. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
for those reserve assets, or is that something else? Is that the BRICS and this is the Western world? What is
Yeah.
going on here? But I think it's
Yeah.
neat to see that they're building out the ecosystem for RippleNet with the IMF basket of currencies there, which allows the SDR to exist at this point now. So now
That's yeah.
we're talking about the IMF CBDC and use for their currencies, and I think it's just so cool to watch this. Like
Yeah.
where I'm at right now in my life, looking at traditional finance, I could never piece this together with what I'm living in right now because I just came up into it. But
Yeah.
with what's being built, I can follow that, and it's really neat. It's beautiful to watch. It's an
I
addiction.
yeah. I I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit here a bit. I can remember at length talking to people in 2017, late 16 and early 17, that you're going to want these 2 coins. And my show has always been about these 2 coins, and it's always been about Bitcoin and XRP. And
Mhm.
I always explained it to people that the value of the money that you're going to be moving around is going to be associated with Bitcoin. But the way you move it around is going to be through XRP.
Mhm.
And they would always look at me and I explained that. I said, well, it's sort of like railroad tracks. I kind of use that a lot, but it's more like a credit card. The credit card system is going to be XRP, and the movement of the value of all things is going to go through that network. And they look at me like, well, no, nobody's ever going to let that happen. And that's, that you're out of your mind. And that's just
Mhm.
crazy talk. And I never, in the perception of what I thought back then, is completely unfolding like a book, like a movie in front of my face. And the research that you've put forward and so many of us have put forward and looked at the hundreds of documents that I've read that people send me out of the kindness of their heart. I mean,
Mhm.
I can't even keep up with all the material that people have sent me that is just document after document, which is just proving a concept that this crazy old man had years ago is unfolding like a movie. And it's just like being part of it is difficult in the sense that I want to shake everybody that doesn't own a single XRP coin. It's so frustrating to me.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I know that there's many people that watch your stuff and my stuff that get it, and it's going to change generations of your children. And it's not maybe, it's definitely. And
Mhm.
and it's so hard for me to sit back as a participant and be in a person in the space to watch people who could change their lives not get it. And it's very difficult for me. But I think that all this exposure, gosh, just since this regime change in this country, wow, some of the stuff that's being said on mainstream TV is like unbelievable to me.
Mhm.
And here we are. Here we are, man. You know, it's so incredible. Yeah. All that research that you've done was not for naught, if you know what I mean. You picked the right coin to research, and it's just unbelievable. Yeah.
I
And if
I
Brad
feel you.
Garlinghouse gets a position on that committee, uh, it's yeah. I mean, it's
It's
just in the way they're already working with like Cardano, and like I never would have guessed any of that was going to happen. Never. And I personally, I'm not a huge fan of Cardano, but I do own some of it. And Charles is kind of up and down. Everybody's up and down, right? But I heard him say something publicly the other day about how they would like to be the smart contract network for XRP. And I was like, what? Like I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. And I didn't see that coming at all. And it does kind of make a lot of sense. But it's so much fun to watch all this evolve. Yeah.
I
What do
agree
you,
with you in ter- I was gonna say I agree with you in terms of wanting to shake people and say, come on, like wake up. Like I'm a grown ass man in a Spider-Man mask, and people choose to follow me on YouTube and Twitter, and they've never seen who I am, but they listen and they recognize that I'm very authentic. I show the document. I just read the document. I show the videos, but yet I can't even talk to my own family about this stuff. It's wild, you know. They think I'm nuts. And when I talk to them about that, the main question they ask, like any other person would ask, how much did you make on it? It's like it's not important how much I made. Let me explain what this is. And they can't get past that because they're like, well, Bitcoin's nothing. There's nothing behind it. I'm like, I understand that. And if you're gonna get stuck there, I guess that's the end of the conversation.
yeah, too bad. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I, I was trying to explain stable coins to an individual just on the phone just the other day. They don't get it. I mean, they own XRP and they're like, I don't get stable coins. And I'm like, okay, well, it's a better form of fiat. Let's just go with that. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, well, okay, I can get that. Why is it better? I said, well, it's actually got something behind it. It's actually, whether it's been audited, that's another thing. But we won't get into that. But at least they have assets behind the value that they printed. And he goes, oh, really? Do they? And I said, yeah. They, many of them have, or have been more forthright about divulging what they actually have and what they own. But, and he goes, oh, okay, that makes sense. I said, so what's behind fiat? And the phone got real quiet. He goes, well, that's why I'm in crypto. And I'm like, so he's at least pretty sharp about that. But it's so hard for me because all my friends are my age and they
Mm-hmm.
just laugh at me. They're like, okay, great. Where can you spend it? And I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
actually, Coinbase actually has a credit card. Did you know that? And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, you can spend your crypto through a credit card, Visa, through Coinbase. In fact, Visa owns a big chunk of Coinbase. I don't know too many people that know that, but and not that I approve of Visa or Coinbase because I'm not really a big fan of either. But that's the answer to that question. If anybody ever asks you,
So
where do you you were before we went live, you were talking about price. Everybody loves a good price prediction. Where do you see us going? What do you see the market doing here going forward?
people do love a good price prediction. I'm usually like, I don't usually throw out price predictions. I mean, I put one out, I want to say 2 weeks ago, maybe last week, and it was based
Mhm.
off of, I guess, different factors that I recognize in the market itself. So I utilized the IMF basket of currencies and just based it off of the what Ripple has in their in escrow, 37.7 billion XRP sitting in there. And I divided that up into 6 categories because I included the IMF, which would bring it around 13,000 something. But again, that's not necessarily an immediate. That could be over
No.
time. That could be, it could be
Yeah.
tomorrow. It could be 10 years from now. It could be, I don't know. But I if I'm being really honest with you, um,
Hmm.
I see the value proposition for XRP well beyond 13,000. If I'm being completely honest with you, and again, I'm not a price prediction person. I like the journey and I like to understand what's going on. But I mean,
Yeah.
$13,000 for me in terms of what's going on and how much money is going to be moving based on how many tokenized assets there are, because there's going to be tokenized assets with value that have never been on a ledger before, like this. Once it leaves, like if you buy a car, once it leaves that dealership, that value doesn't exist anymore until you decide to sell that car again. Then it's just value brought back on a ledger, as opposed to it always being on there at this point. And
Yep.
man, it's
astronomical when you understand what Mr. Man just said. When you know that about the monetary system we all live in, when people tell you it's a quadrillion dollars, no, it's multiples of that, and every moment of every day there's more added, and like it's not tracked properly either. It's crazy. I tell people, and most people don't believe me, but it's true. One of the most prolific things on the face of the planet is the valuation of a US dollar. They're like it's grains of sand. Yeah, there's more grains of sand. There's more gallons in the ocean. Yeah, there's maybe more leaves on trees. Other than that, dollars are up there. That's how much money there is. And we need to get away from thinking in scarcity. If I make money, I'm taking money from somebody else. No, you're not. It's not how it works. The magnitude of money that's out there is just it's up for you to take it. Yeah. It's crazy. People have no concept of money or digits.
No. Well, it's I've had the market cap conversation with people before, and I'm not suggesting that I'm right. I'm not suggesting I'm wrong. I'm just giving my point of view and perspective on it. But what I feel is we're moving into a place where market cap no longer exists. And the reason I say that is we've never been in a place with the amount of money that is going to be flowing through these ledgers. Like you guys saw last week on the third, I believe it was, that big wick candle down there. Think of how many, think of the amount of liquidity that was just taken out of the market and now reinvesting into this space here. Like it's a ridiculous amount of money that's going to be thrown into here, just thrown into here. You know, like it's wild. And then the real world assets, man, it's astronomical.
I was hanging out with man, I'm sure you know, Jimmy Valley. And Jimmy and I were sitting around talking and just having a great time. And I said, okay, Jimmy, come on, give me big picture. How do you think it's going to unfold? And he goes, well, the whole thing's absurd. The whole thing's a big lie. You already know that. I said, well, yeah. I said, I know the monetary system's a big fat lie. We all got that. Give me a number. And he goes, Alan, this is how it's going to play out. Now, this is the world according to Jimmy. You're going to have a 3-day weekend. Friday, I don't know, $5, $10, $15 XRP will be on Friday afternoon. You'll wake up Tuesday and it'll be $9,000. And I was like, wow. Okay. I can see how that would happen. Explain it to me. And he was about 2 sentences in. I was like, oh my God, that's going to happen. That's going to happen one day. Because the evaluation, what the banks are going to need to do is value everything like that. They have to set completely new evaluations of all assets and all things and all banknotes and it has to be a come clean moment to where they're going to have to say, we can no longer value this thing, gold, crypto, Bitcoin, XRP, whatever, all of them. They can't be at the number that they're at. They've got to absorb what's been placed as value when it was sold, like your explanation of the vehicle. And he goes, it's at least $9,000, Alan, the day you wake up. And I was like, I like that number. That sounds pretty good. I like it. Yeah.
I have a lot of conversations with AI, and it's based on the regulations that I understand that are coming in and the dates that I have and other confluences around there. A lot of social engineering that takes place to allow these things to happen. When I say social engineering for your viewers, and I guess my viewers out there, I mean like sporting events. So you have full moons bring you down, and then sometime a few days later, there might be the NBA All-Star game or the Super Bowl or whatever else that makes people want to tune in, spend money on their cable, on their internet, go to these events, book hotels, book Uber, book taxis, buy beer, buy things. It just kind of has a ripple effect out there. So social engineering, which causes the upswing that we'll see. But I mean, I have some really really interesting conversations with AI. Do you mind if I guess talk you through one of them?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I do got a hard stop, but it's a ways from now. We're good.
Okay. So back in 2019, Ripple or Payments Canada had partnered with the FNA, Finality, the company. They had
Yeah.
partnered with them to create a digital twin of the Lynx system. And the Lynx system is Payments Canada's payment system. So they made a digital twin of that. And in this document, I don't have it here, but I have it on my phone. They had, within this digital twin, they had utilized XRP, or Ripple as they call it in this document, for liquidity optimization. The liquidity optimization. So this now, we're coming forward to where we are now. Canada and US were in talks about tariffs. Tariffs were going to be put in February 1st. Coincidentally, those got pushed back to March 1st. And the reason that date is very, very, very strategic, and why I think everything is connected together and pre-planned, right? These tariffs aren't just coming out of left field, but we have tariffs now, March 1st for Canada, March 10th. What happens? That's that big day with the Fed wire where they can go cross-border at this point.
Yep.
So with the cross-border, we have Finastra. Finastra allows for what's it called? They're partnered with a company called FinCom, and FinCom offers sanction screening and tariffs. So they offer the KYC for that cross-border for sanction screening and tariffs. How coincidental is this? This day, then you have the go live date for the Fed wire service. Sorry. So the conversation I had, okay. So
what was the Fed now date?
What's that?
What's the Fed now date?
March 10th, 2025.
Oh yeah.
That's the Fed wire, the Fed wire date. Yeah. Okay.
That's the ISO day. Yeah.
Yeah. So the US tariffs on Canadian imports effective March 1st, 2025 are primarily expected to impact North America markets. While these tariffs could lead to regional supply, that's the Australia one, sorry. So that liquidity management I was telling you about with Canada, Payments Canada and FNA, that now can come into play. So the liquidity management development in Canada, including the liquidity adequacy requirements going live April 1st, can be linked to previous testing conducted by Payments Canada and FNA, where Ripple was used for liquidity optimization. Because now we need that liquidity for these tariffs that are going to be in place. How coincidental is it? 9 days later, the US happens to have it in place. Hey, we just happen to have created this, guys. Don't look at us. I mean, we didn't plan anything, right?
Yeah.
So in 2020, Payments Canada collaborated with FNA, an advanced analytics provider, to explore liquidity savings mechanisms using DLT-based solutions. The research assessed how real-time gross settlement systems such as Lynx could benefit from ODO, which is a key technology considered for reducing liquidity requirements in high-valued payments. Imagine conducting commerce now at the amount that Canada and US do. Neighbors. Yeah. Canada doesn't own any gold. Our currency it's an airdrop. It's an air token. Right? Like we're gonna need liquidity from somewhere. How coincidental is it they had done this test 5 years ago? Cool. So fast forward 2025, Canada's liquidity adequacy requirements will likely build upon these past studies, ensuring Financial institutions have sufficient liquidity buffers, especially for obligations such as tariffs payments. Where am I here?
Yeah.
Where am I here? Okay, so now I'm fast forwarding again. Senator Lummis came out, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, with the Genius Act? I believe it was her. And the Genius Act is for allowing stable coins to come into reality within the US. How coincidental is it now that Revolut, a mainstream app, came out and said that, yep, we're going to have RLUSD on this mainstream app now. Like you can't make this stuff up. Like if you're following the dates on what's going on, like it's honestly the best movie ever. To be the fly on the wall, to have these dates and to see what's going on, it's like okay. So far I'm right. So far I'm right. We'll see where it goes. It's neat because I'm utilizing these dates, this information as my confluences as I look at the charts itself. It's wild. It's wild how regulation impacts these charts.
And when you, let's say, understand how the system works, and particular banking moves very slow, very methodically. They're not going to do anything or adopt anything very quickly, but they're certainly not going to tell you, the people. That's why you can't get your friends to buy XRP, because they don't believe it, because the system doesn't want you in there first. And they are going to be very methodical. And that's why I was kind of blown away by Jimmy's thought of it happening over a 3-day weekend. However, there are times when that happens. I happen to live in Mexico when that happened to us. One day we woke up and the peso was worth 10 times less than it was the day before. And that happens all the time in the world that we live in. It just never happened. Shouldn't say never. It just, I don't think never has happened to the US dollar. So, but it will. And it will need something, because you, like you said, the ODL is perfect. You need something to be that grease that's going to be able to move that liquidity. You have to have it. You can't just use gold. That's not going to work. That's not going to work anymore, guys. I know a lot of people are gold bugs and stuff, but that old, it's not going to work like that. You've got to have something that all nations can trust and believe in, and it has to have the liquidity. Period. Otherwise, we're all. Otherwise, the issues is the big issue would be arbitrage. If everything doesn't happen now, it would take, people would profit on other people's money. For months or years on end, just trading against the two pair. Yeah.
Do you mind if I add a bit more to what I was saying before?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
Yeah, what do you got?
Are you familiar with what a CBDC is? And I asked that because I recognize that I wasn't when I thought I was, and I believe that most others aren't either. Are you familiar with the CBDC?
I just recently heard a different definition, but yeah, go ahead. What do you got?
Okay, so initially I thought, like, people were afraid of CBDCs. Oh my God, the central banks are coming out with their own currency and they're going to control you. I've learned watching a Mexican conference that a CBDC is just a platform. So there was a video of Brad Garlinghouse was saying that the CBDCs are just stable coins. So I figured, okay, well, it's wrapped somehow, or they're somehow intertwined. A CBDC is a platform, like Stellar, the rails, the infrastructure. That's all it is the platform. And then you have the stable coin, and that's the currency itself. So we're at the point where I've seen this video. I believe Smoke put it out on Twitter or X. And it was this guy, David Allen something or other from the Federal Reserve. And he somehow during the conversation went down the route where he's like, well, for whatever reason, if we needed to, I'm not saying that we're going to, but if we needed to, or if we wanted to, we could always delegate a CBDC out to a third party, say someone like Ripple. And then I found another video of James Wallace. James Wallace was talking and said that we work with a lot of central banks. We work with the Fed. So if I'm looking at this correctly, the Fed can issue their CBDC, their platform, out to a third-party company such as Ripple. James Wallace said they work with Ripple. Ripple has a private CBDC ledger that operates just like the XRP ledger. Peersys is now working on a side chain to tap into EVM. That side chain could likely tap into that other platform as well. So once that is connected, that rush comes through there. Because why would this individual from the Federal Reserve have the audacity to want to say something like, we could delegate this to a third party such as Ripple, and Ripple has a CBDC platform. It's not there for shits and giggles.
Nope. Nope.
So
that's not a coincidence.
Yep. If I'm following the breadcrumbs correctly, and just putting simple pieces together, I'm at the conclusion already. And then was it last month? Didn't Brad Garlinghouse or Ripple donate 5 million XRP to the inauguration fund for Trump? So the Republicans now have access to 5 million XRP. I'm not suggesting that they're going to utilize that for something, but now they don't necessarily need to buy it. It was gifted to them. It's not just going to sit there, collecting digital webs.
Yeah. One of the things that people give me whenever somebody doesn't like XRP and they kind of understand crypto pretty well, they always give me a hard time about, well, they got all that escrow stuff over there. And I said, yeah. And they're like, well, who does that? And I said, smart people do that. And they're like, well, I don't get, you only have half the value if only, half the coins have been distributed. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But do you understand how big money works? Do you understand how the whole game is played? If you want a seat at the table, how are you going to do that? Are you going to make them go down to Coinbase and buy the coins off the exchange like every other crypto coin did? No, the IMF is not going to go, oh, well, we'll just call up, Coinbase or Kraken and buy. That's not how this works, man. The smartest thing Ripple ever did was that escrow. And people bag on it all the time because they don't understand. They don't get it. They don't know how big money moves and big games play. I will tell you that my definition is a little different of CBDC. And my definition is this. And it's pretty much basic. The definition I like to believe, or I always believed it to be, that's a great explanation, by the way. It's a little better than mine. But I see it as the demolition of banking. And I see it as the central banking system directly connecting itself to the citizens of the planet. That's the way I always saw it. Eliminating banking, I'll just interject it directly to the citizen. I don't need the bank in the middle of this. They can come to us for all loans and everything else. I know that's very simplistic, but that's the way I always looked at CBDCs. And I didn't care much for it. I'm not afraid of them. I just never thought they would be successful. I did a video 3 years ago about that, and I got more flack about it than any other video I think I did. But I do not think they'll be successful. But now, the way you just explained that, it's just another form of liquidity. That's all it is.
What it allows for, the CBDC, it allows for the continuity of fiscal policy. Like the Federal Reserve is supposed to be there to stabilize or create and bring stability to the economy by allowing fiscal policy to exist. and then you have the treasury, which is the treasury, it's the money partner essentially. So even though they can essentially delegate the CBDC platform out to a third party, they will still ultimately have like a wallet connected to the private ledger, which allows them to ultimately continue on with their oversight for fiscal policy. But there's a rule book within the RippleNet ecosystem itself that these central banks or any other participant utilizing RippleNet needs to adhere to. It's a shame that the RippleNet rulebook isn't readily available, because I would have loved to have read that, but I don't believe that CB when I first found out what a CBDC was, like initially from the central banks, like most people, I was fearful. But I decided to forcefully give myself the point of view where this can't be bad. This cannot be bad, because if you're trying to establish economic stability and you're going to force people into something, they're going to want to have to stay into it still.
Yeah.
Right? If there's no trust in the system, they'll just say, screw this, and I'm walking away. And that's that.
Yeah.
So if there's no trust in this platform from whoever has oversight for it, then it's gonna fail. So there has to be some trust established within it. And like I get emails on the daily from my commercial bank stating, Mr. Man, you can get this loan for that now, and this loan and that loan for this, and blah 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 blah. And they treat you so well. They treat me so well now. I'm sure it's just a liquidity grab is what they want, but they treat you well. At least what it appears to be,
Yeah. Yeah. Scratch mine back, and hey, we can coexist successfully.
Yeah. Buy now, pay later. We got you. Whatever you need, I got you. Buy it now and pay later. Layaway, rain checks, whatever you need.
Yeah. Yeah. When you really get into a high level banking, it's the exact opposite of what everybody thinks it is. It's a debt bomb. It's just a massive pile of debt, and without more debt, the old debt is invaluable. And it's so hard to explain to people the basics of it. Brother, I've got a hard stop here, man. It's been I could go on for 2 days with you. Like, you are a wealth of information that I'm so glad that we were able to share with my Thursday night group. I know Mr. Man is very sharp at explaining things, and I like the way he explains things. And a lot of you, I saw in some of the people in the chat were saying, hey, I kind of went over my head a little bit. Well, check out, there's a link in here. Joanne already put it in there. Check that group out if you're interested in what these guys are doing. They're helping a lot of people understand. It's a teaching course. It's something you can get involved in, the Discord. And it's an incredible time to be alive, because you can make money with money and make money with crypto. And Mr. Man is an incredible asset to the XRP family, and we're blessed to have you, brother. And I'm so thankful that we've become connected, and hopefully friends in the future. Hopefully, I'm only hoping that I'm going to see the mask at the XRP Vegas. I don't know whether or not you've decided on that or not, or somewhere else. I don't know. But I'd love to hook up with you personally, with your wife, and I'd love for you to meet my son, Brent, and my lovely wife, Elizabeth, one day. So it'd be good, because we're all one big family, and we're all in this together.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you. Any last words for everybody in the XRP crew here?
Yeah. Do you mind if I just talk about my Patreon quickly, or should I not?
Of course. Yeah. Put out your info, brother. Yeah.
So I do have a Patreon. It's just my name, Mr. Man. I have a free section. You can come in there and you can siphon all the information you need. And I use that word strategically, siphon information. If you're a free person, by all means, join the conversation and talk. But there are some sections that are locked out, which are only for paying members. And it's only a small, like it's $10 a month. And the reason I want it small, because I'm not in doing this to make money. I just want people to be accountable. So when you have skin in the game, you're more willing and apt to learn. Every Friday night, I have a town hall. Alan is going to be there tomorrow, and he's going to be talking to us and my private group about trust. So we get that one-on-one time with him. I have different people like Jake Claver, wealth strategy and wealth management. I've had Ray Fuentes come through. I've had different programmers. I've had foreign exchange traders. I've had DeFi specialists, and they each have bring their own specialty to the group and help us out. I've had Caleb and Brown come and talk about, like, we've got some deep knowledge about Caleb and Brown because I'm a partner with them as well.
Yeah.
Every Thursday I meet with one of my buddies, and then on Sunday we put out a market outlook where I tell you what the week is going to, not tell you, but I give you an insight into what the market will look like based on regulations, implementations. And then I have a buddy who's there with me, and he's an FX trader, and he gives it to you from the charts. And the reason I do it like that, so you get the regulation and the charts, and we only meet Thursday to discuss what we want to talk about. We don't discuss what way the market's going to go together. And the reason we do it like that is because when we come on Sunday to put this out and put it together, then we can see how correlated we are with what he sees in the charts versus what I see in the regulations. I don't know anybody else putting out information like that through regulatory arbitrage, if you want to call it that, and then from the foreign exchange perspective, based on cryptocurrencies itself, or trading perspective, sorry. So I provide a lot of value by PDFs, conferences, and I mean, join the conversation and learn. That's all it is, just learn.
I'm seeing some comments in here. Oh yeah, his Patreon's well worth it. So check it out, guys. It's free to check it out. And if you really like what's in there, same with mine. Mine's free and pretty cheap as well. But if you really like what his content in there, $10 a month for what we offer and the work he puts into stuff he's worth way more than that to the future of your trading and DeFi. All right, brother, it's been great. And we're going to have links below as to the two different groups that he mentioned and his Patreon. And with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and try and get out of here tonight, as I've got a hard stop here pretty quick. So love everybody, and we will talk to you all very soon. I am out.